My dad, Henry P. Anthony, put together two hobbies during the 1950s: electric model trains and movie making. He set up elaborate temporary electric train layouts at Christmas that filled the living room, and in 1953 he began filming 16mm movies of them. For Christmas 1953, when I was in third grade, I drew up a title and credits card. This was only the second time Dad had used a movie camera, and the first time indoors, which needed bright movie lights. The trains were Lionel O gauge and O27. Dad switched to less expensive black and white film to document the action of Lionel operating accessories. The switch engine cut its train to move a stock car of cattle to the cattle pen. The cattle had bases with rubber cleats pointed backwards, which made them move forward out of the car and into pens when a vibrating floor in the car and on the base of the pen was activated electrically. A barrel loading device vibrated the same way to shake barrels up a ramp and into a gondola car. We had a milk platform where a little man came out of a refrigerator car to set out miniature cans of milk, one of the favorite accessories, but somehow it was not filmed in operation. Clear the main for a through Union Pacific Streamliner, a big Santa Fe diesel with two electric motors in one F unit, full O gauge, brought some dump cars into the yard. Real cars like this often carried ballast and were actuated to dump with compressed air. The models had scale coal and dumped with a solenoid actuated by an electrical contact in a special track section. The same track sections also had electromagnets to uncouple the knuckle couplers. A coal load could load the cars back up with a conveyor. On another track, a log loader used a conveyor to take logs up an incline onto a sloping surface that dumps logs into a car. That's me, the older brother Kenny, running trains with the big Lionel ZW transformer that powered 4 throttles. 2 throttles had whistle control buttons. Toggle switches divided up sections of track so any block could be controlled from either of the 2 throttles with whistles. The yellow Union Pacific Streamliner was younger brother Shelley's train, but Shelley somehow didn't make it into the 1953 film. Dad's hand was usually on the throttle, showing us how to handle the controls, especially when running 2 trains at once, switching the blocks to keep a throttle connected as a train moved from one block to another. The tracks ran all around the living room. The terminal sat in front of the fireplace while lines went around the Christmas tree, under the piano, behind the TV set and the sofa. One loop even ran into the dining room. The terminal section provided the key to setting up an elaborate layout in a short amount of time. One section about 4 by 8 feet on a piece of refrigerator carton corrugated cardboard held all the operating accessories, uncoupling and actuating track sections for special cars, 6 of the 8 automatic electrical track switches for the setup, and nearly all the wiring. The layout reflected the real railroad action just outside the Anthony House in the east end of Houston, the Magnolia branch of the Houston Belton Terminal, 100 feet from the house, the heavy East Belt line 500 feet west, and a main line to Galveston a quarter-mile south. The next year, a Dr. Hargrove in Houston contracted Henry Anthony to build the doctor a permanent Lionel layout for the rec room of the doctor's home, the Hargrove Road. As part of the compensation for building the layout, the doctor paid for a roll of 16mm color film to capture the layout. The layout was a twice-around loop that crossed itself at grade, went up and down an incline, and negotiated a sharp S-curve. Experimenting with filming techniques, Dad moved the camera in front of the train to provide an engineer's view forward and backward. The Hargrove Road. Henry Anthony bought a used Kodak K100 clockwork wind-up drive camera for his movies, a design that dated back to the 1940s, maybe even the late 30s. The lens aperture opened and closed by hand to adjust for bright or dim light, but the camera had no focus adjustment. Anything closer than 6 feet would be out of focus. And there was no through-the-lens reflex viewing. A viewfinder on top of the camera pointed on an axis about 3 inches higher than the taking lens. This presented no problem with shooting scenes from 6 feet away or further, but for close-ups, the taking lens would be below the view as seen through the viewfinder, so it would miss the top of the intended scene. The problem showed up in the filming of Christmas 1954. Henry Anthony wanted to show various aspects of Christmas in the Anthony house in addition to the trains. Christmas cards set the mood, but the top was cut off because of the camera viewing problem. Packages sat under the tree awaiting the big day. A manger scene and miniature church on the piano pointed out the true meaning of the Christmas season. And the train layout was brought in. The center of the 1954 film was the excitement of opening presents under the tree on Christmas morning. We boys rushed into the living room in our pajamas. That's my little brother Shelley, 3 years younger than me. We were at the age when we split the credit for the presents between Dad and Mom and Santa Claus. Santa brought lots of neat toys, but the things Dad built for us were even more special. And even with the toys that Santa brought, Dad could figure out how to put them together and make them work. Our mother, Thelma Anthony, always got something from Dad. A mystery whodunit, Colonel Mustard with a lead pipe in the conservatory? But my biggest thrill was the set of extruded stainless steel streamlined cars to run with the big Santa Fe war bonnet diesels I already had. It came with a coach, Vista Dome, and round-end observation car. That made my set like the Santa Fe Super Chief running through the painted deserts and past the pueblos of the Southwest. We still had our operating accessories from past years. We enjoyed both the new trains and the old ones together, just made for a better railroad. Shelley still ran his yellow Union Pacific Streamliner, and in 1954 he got a work train set with a black diesel switcher, almost like the ones that ran on the Houston Belton Terminal just outside our home. And along with it came a searchlight car, a dump car, a wrecking crane, and a boom car caboose. A few days after Christmas, the W.E. Anthonys came for a visit, with Aunt Sarah carrying 7-week-old Walter Jr. Uncle Walter became Walter Sr. with the arrival of a junior. The 3 girls, my cousins Nancy, Pam, and Lala Anthony, showed off their new dolls and stuffed animals. Besides the temporary Christmas setups in the living room, Henry Anthony built a permanent Lionel railroad on a tabletop about 5 by 9 feet, I photographed it in the sun out on the driveway with my first camera that I got for Christmas. It was a cardboard basic box camera job you sent in by mail order to have pictures developed. As near as I can remember and document by going through the Anthony photo archives, Dad stopped taking still Kodak pictures when he started making movies. The 1955 Christmas movie was staged to dramatize the build-up to the holiday. It showed wrapping the presents, sneaking in packages, hiding them away. Shelley had a special, personal tradition, his own little Christmas tree in his bedroom. Crafting some homemade decorations. Saying good night on Christmas Eve, saying prayers. Dreaming of new toys. Sleeping the hours away till Santa's arrival. 6 a.m. is late enough to sleep on Christmas morning, isn't it? Especially when you're a boy with new toys to unwrap. Santa and Dad and Mom were good about finding presents to delight us. I can hardly remember ever asking for anything specific, anything I just had to have, except, of course, trains in general. We didn't make lists from TV commercials or toy catalogs. They just knew what we would like, and we liked what we got. One unusual gift was a special request. I had a stage Dad built me in the garage to put on plays. I asked for a color wheel to put colored gels in front of a spotlight to make light effects. Dad got me a color wheel from a professional theatrical supply house. Dad also took good care of Mother. A new vacuum cleaner? That didn't seem so exciting to us, but we could see it would help her around the house. And a diamond necklace? At least I guessed it was diamonds. That impressed us. But what we boys really liked were the trains. A gantry crane with controls to let it pick up and place loads with an electromagnet, and 4 gleaming streamlined baggage cars for the Santa Fe Streamliner. Dad's sister, our Aunt Annie Anthony, worked in the exchange store at Ellington Air Force Base next to the family farm. The exchange somehow got a surplus of the big O-gauge baggage cars for $3 apiece, and Dad bought 4 of them, so my train had more baggage cars than the real streamliners of the time. That was the last of Henry Anthony's Christmas train movies. Next year he blew the film budget with 4 whole rolls on a trip to Disneyland in California. I started talking about making movies myself with Dad's camera, melodramatic story movies. Dad built me a covered wagon prop for a Western movie which never materialized. A year later, he gave expensive 16mm film to me instead of using it himself on the Christmas trains, and I made some short amateur science fiction movies. Henry Anthony was killed in 1959 in an on-the-job accident. Shortly afterwards, Mother sold our 15 Lionel train sets for less than 1/10 of what they had cost. She said we boys were getting older and we wouldn't be interested in toy trains anymore. But we certainly had fun for those Christmases we did have.